Update 35.1 Beta 3 is now open, and in this video I'm gonna go through all the new changes. As you might already know, there's the new avatars for the race of man, and I already covered this in my previous video, so if you're interested to see more about the new avatars, my video about the avatars is live on my channel, you can check that out. And we also have Tier 3 of the Ghyniverse, the new raid. And as far as I know, Boss 1 now has mechanics. I did try it out on my stream. And that raid Boss 1 video will arrive within the next few days. So the avatar changes and the raids will not be covered in this video, but all the new changes will be covered. The Brawler class can now correctly barter in Dull Amethyst for the big battle jewelry. Previously they could only barter in Minstrel, but they are now available in Dull Amethyst as well. There was also an issue with some jewelry being restricted to Bjorning and not to Brawler. This has now been fixed. Brawler can now correctly barter for their own unique jewelry. The blue cappy healing banner now correctly increases the healing from the banner by the trait Relentless Optimism. This used to not affect the banner, but has now been fixed. Relentless Optimism also affects the blue healing banner. As a red captain, if you were to trait Courageous Convocation in blue line, Muster Courage will become self-targetable, but there was an issue when you used Stand Alone, that this skill would not transform into what it should. But now it correctly transforms into Courageous Heart, regardless if you have this traded or not. When using the cooldown at the 4 and building your stacks would suggest that they were affecting your outgoing healing. This was not the case, and this has been corrected. The at the 4 stacks will no longer trick the player into thinking it affects their outgoing healing. Blade Brother and Stand Alone in their tooltips will now say that they will prevent the use of the other while active, meaning you can only have one of each, and it's been clarified in the tooltip that this is the case. As a blue line mini, if you trade 1 point into Improved Cord of Salvation, the Cord of Salvation skill will now once again be an immediate skill. It seems like it's currently bugged on bullroarer, as in it still acts as a fast skill, but as we can see from the patch notes and the tooltip, it's clearly meant to be reverted back to an immediate skill. So Cord of Salvation has been reverted, it is now once again immediate. The cooldown of Melody of Battle or Echoes of Battle is now 2 seconds, and Called to Greatness now once again says the correct skill on Captain. It will reset at the 4 for Yellow Captain. The Shield Gambit healing potency from specializing in the blue line determination for Warden now correctly affects the conviction healing. The Fist Gambit damage and critical chance now correctly improves the resounding challenge bleed. The trait in red, no respite for the wicked, will no longer refer to the offensive strike Gambit line, but instead correctly refer to the boot cauterizing steel line. The max range for the Gambit called Deflection has been reverted to the correct way, where the melee version will be centered around yourself, and range deflection will instead be a short radius AoE around the target you're targeting. The description on the trait on the offense has been fixed, and will no longer suggest that offensive strike has a morale tap. We had a change to the cooldown Desperate Combat in blue line. Previously, depending on your advanced technique, you can have stacks of this skill, and it would change depending on your previous gambit. This effect would only last 30 seconds, meaning you had a kind of short window to perform these. But now, popping Desperate Combat will give you 4 charges if you have max AT, and less AT is less charges. This effect will now last for the full cooldown of this skill, so 1 minute 30 seconds, and you can use your charges whenever during that time. Meaning that during this time when this is on cooldown, you can then again build your AT, and once again have the AT ready to consume this skill. when it comes back off cooldown. But in a nutshell, you have the entirety of the cooldown for this skill to come back to use your Desperate Combat. The blue line Never Surrender trait now shows the correct Never Surrender cooldown of 180 seconds. Several class traceries for Warden were giving the incorrect secondary stat on the legendary level, which is gold tracery. These have now been fixed, and they should give the same secondary stat regardless of rarity type. And the damage has been increased slightly in the boot to Cauterizing Steel line, and your Offensive Strike to Unseen Strikes line. Both of these lines are your single target cash out, your AoE cash out, but also your direct single target burst damaging skill, as well as your AoE damaging burst skills. Loremaster and Captain Pets no longer have any threat copy in their taunts, so the Herald taunt for Captain or the Bear taunt for Loremaster no longer have any kind of threat copy. It's simply a forced attack for 5 seconds. PvMP. Defeating Tyrant Burzgoth now correctly progresses your weekly quests, and Tier 2 of the weekly now requires 21 of the Ettenmoor's general quests to complete. We also had a fix to Audacity. At max rank Audacity on live currently, your damage is being reduced by 55% when the intended value was 45, and with this patch you're now going to reduce incoming damage by 45% at max Audacity. We had some fixes to the Karndoom instances. Tarisgar, the Vile Apothecary, the Bile tanks that you can see that I'm DPSing right here, can no longer be Science. Apparently they are able to be Science at the moment. And the final boss on Tier 4, the final chest, is now correctly the Tier 4 chest. And on the last boss of St. Lore, the Venom Twisted Reavers, the first summoned as you get, can no longer be Science. Apparently they're able to be Science at the moment, but with this patch that will be fixed. There's also been a fix to this instance where you would spawn in and all the enemies would be level 1, as well as some fixes to the repeatable quest inside this space. A lot of people were unhappy with the 25% morale increase and the 7.5% mitigation increase to enemies, to monsters in the world. But of course, as we already know, this change has been reverted. There was a forum post from Cordovan where they explained what they changed. Instead of the morale increase being 25%, it's only 15% increase, and the mitigation increase has just simply been reverted. So the numbers went up, but not by that much, and no mitigation increase. Most of the shields in the new 6-man Sagroth had their armor value way too low than what it's supposed to be, and with this patch we're getting a fix. The armor value is increased to the intended value. Also with this patch, Ember gear is getting an increase. The base value for opening an Ember piece will be 478, with the chance to go all the way up to 480. And finally, I just wanted to thank Nick, Kevin, Anonymous, Giselda, Knight, and Lumpy Clump for supporting me through my Ko-fi site. If you want to support me, there's a link in the description. Thank you for watching. Please consider subscribing to help out the channel, leave a like, join my Discord, and I'll see you in the next one. If you're playing or looking to play Lord of the Rings online, there is one place you need to be. The Ghyniverse! The Ghyniverse is a community Discord server for the game Lord of the Rings Online. In this server, you'll find anything from giveaways. There's also a frequently asked questions channel that I would recommend checking out first. You'll be able to see when I put out new YouTube videos, whenever I stream. You can also ask for the streamer role, and you'll be able to post your own streams in this server for everyone to see. There's currently over 5,000 members in this Discord and it keeps growing. You will also find discussion channels about the game, LOTRO. You can ask any questions in the help channel. There's discussions for every single class in the game and PvP. But one of the best things about this server is the best in slot items section. In this section you can find trait lines for every single class. You will find screenshots of the current best gear being displayed. In this channel you'll find charts showing what stats you need for your characters, mitigations, mastery crit, finesse, but you'll also find useful information about drop rates in different instances. I hope you will consider joining my server, and maybe one day I'll see you in Middle Earth.